Hey everyone. Gosh, it's been like 30 minutes since I was with you all. and and so I won't say happy Friday again because I've already said that a few times today. And we're just gonna jump right into it. Um, throughout my 25 years as a coach, one of the things that has I think plagued a lot of individuals is when we set really get big goals, like how many times the amygdala can get triggered, right? So the amygdala, if we're stressed, worried, bored, concerned, or feel entrapped, our amygdala gets fired, right? And then when our amygdala gets fired, we're in fight or flight. And all the limbic brain does then is says, do I eat to you? Do I kill you? Do I make love to you? And most of the time how that comes out is anger and frustration and beating ourselves up. And so one of the things that I'm grateful God like kind of put into my heart and my head is something we're calling 6 million, a million in 6 months. And we're bringing that to the lens of the Ultimate Marketing Boot Camp. And so with the Ultimate Marketing Boot Camp, those who have already registered, there's still 8 more spots. If you want to register, I highly recommend it. We have added on even more value to everyone who bought a ticket in that we did a branding style guide workshop 2 weeks ago, a week ago, I think a week ago. And then this week we've been focused on helping everyone come up with your main, like what you want to earn in 6 months. And then how are we going to do that? And so Shelly was just with me on that call this morning, and something that she said just really like struck me. And that is the reason we've titled this, The Secret to Seeing Big Goals as Easily Attainable. So Shelly, both of you, Doctors Shelly Squared, welcome and thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's jump in. Let's start with, what did you both love about the branding style guide workshop?
Go ahead.
My favorite part was learning my color palette. It was
Oh,
it
cool.
was right in line with what we had been kind of gearing towards anyway, and just to have confirmation and validation of that was awesome.
And Shelly, how many years have you been in practice?
20?
And have you ever done a workshop like that before?
No. I'm so excited to be in this group and be a part of it because it's just such a huge eye opener for me.
And what are you seeing as somebody who's got 2 decades of experience?
As far as what?
Being part of the boot camp and now coming to the Ultimate Marketing Boot Camp, like, how do you see it like benefiting somebody who already has so much experience?
Well, we're only limited as far as our mind will take us, right? So, it's opening up my mind, creating a new, recreating my belief system, not only in myself, but in my practice as well. And then it's been awesome. It's been amazing to watch this woman work. It's been amazing.
Yeah. She's super talented. It's fun to see the two of you together. And I love really what your partnership represents, right? Like the older teach the younger. That's something that the Bible talks about as being really important. And I feel like we've lost that in society.
I agree.
Those of us who are older are almost like, oh, you don't understand. And it's like, actually, that's not true. We've already walked the road a lot. And so I love in our tribe too that we have that. We have students all the way to docs who've been in practice 20, 30, 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
And we all see value. Like the younger ones can teach us how to use this crazy technology, and we older ones can teach you a lot about the clinical side of practice, the business side of practice, like just humanity. So what a beautiful opportunity to, Shelly, continue your legacy through Shelly. And I think that's really exciting. Shelly EY, like speak to for a minute to women who've been in practice for a couple of decades and maybe they're just kind of losing their love for chiropractic. And, oftentimes we think that we're losing our love for chiropractic when really it's just how we're doing it that we don't really enjoy. Talk to them for a minute about what your experience has been having Shelli come on and being in the boot camp in terms of not only how you're seeing your practice, but like your enjoyment of.
I think we all of us go through times where we're stagnant. And when we're stagnant, that's the amygdala flares up, right? And so for me, having Shelli come in, it's a breath of fresh air. It's a sense of renewed passion and purpose and drive for me. And so that's what I would speak to on my experience.
Nice.
When
And
we
so
first,
Shelli, go ahead.
sorry, when we first, decided we were going to join forces, I was like, now listen, I'm in this large group and they are all ballers. They are big time high rollers. And this woman, Dr. Barbara Eden, you may have heard of her, you may not have, but she has all the tools. And this Shell I is really on target to go hit that $1 million mark. And I'm pretty sure you're there. And the only way we're going to get there is if we embrace all of this. So
Yes.
join me in my crazy
Yeah.
and dive in deep and just do it. Just do it.
And Shelli, let's talk about where you were even 6 months ago, in case someone who watches this now or watches it in the future is there where you were 6 months ago, because it wasn't pretty.
It was ugly crying. It was a whole nother version of me that I was ready to give up on. I was ready to give up on chiropractic. I was giving up on myself. I was giving up on everything. I had a lot of doors closing in my face time and time and time again. And I knew that God gave me hands and he gave me tools and he gave me drive and ambition for a reason, but I didn't know where I was supposed to be until I landed here. I landed with you, Dr. Barb. And we had that very raw conversation. And I love your innate capability of calling bullshit for bullshit, but in a gentle manner, in a gentle, not so gentle manner. Like, no, I don't believe it. I'm like, what? Anyhow, so
I remember saying that too. Like,
yeah,
I'm not buying it.
No,
Yeah.
And I needed that challenge because I wasn't really ready to give up. I was exhausted where I was at. And so I needed a tribe that I could ask questions. I needed that support system that I didn't have. And I had looked into other groups and it was just so not the right fit. And the reason that the boot camp is the right fit for me is because you have doctors all over the world and everyone is at a different place, but no one is afraid to be vulnerable on calls. They are willing to share their trials and tribulations, like their successes and their failures. And while it may be uncomfortable, everyone gets to learn from your discomfort and your vulnerability. And vulnerability is not something that comes easy for me. And I have been more vulnerable in this group than I think I've ever been in my life.
Yeah.
But I grow from that. So
Yeah.
I feel like I bring more to our partnership in business because I can say, oh, I don't know if you want to do that. Like, here's why. And so, and if there's something that we don't know, we can come to you or come to someone in the group and they're willing to step forward. So that is invaluable.
Absolutely.
But the moral of the story is where you are now says nothing about where you're going. Because if
No.
you would have talked to Shelli literally 6 months ago, it is not pretty. And many of us have been there before, like ready to hang it up. And so if that's you today, if you keep doing what you're doing, you will probably quit.
Right.
And it doesn't have to end like that. Like there's something so powerful, even with a group of ballers. Like the reason I started the boot camp was because as a baller, I didn't feel like I had my community. I didn't feel like I had my tribe. I I never honestly had great female friends. I had some practice members that I was really, really close to, and I'm still close to. There are about 3 of them. And then my sister's always been my best friend. But within our profession, I had acquaintances and friends, but not this, right?
Yeah.
Not the depth and the texture. And so, that's another thing I love about our tribe is it's not just the business life, it's our personal life too, because life is holographic. And I feel like all of you have taught me so much about relationship and creating and cultivating and even just the psychological safety that we've all created to be real with one another and to say the hard things and Shelli received them as they were delivered in full love. And I couldn't just sit on the sidelines and pacify your talents and your drive and who you are. And sometimes we just need someone to remind us of our brilliance and our you got enough gas, girl, like let's go. So kudos to you as well for trusting and saying like, okay, this doesn't feel great, but I'm going to do it anyway. And now look where you are. So now we're talking about bigger numbers than you've ever done in 6 months.
Yes.
And then by the end of the call, she's like, I don't even think that's enough. So let's talk about
go big or go home, sister. So, we were talking about how much money do you want to make in 6 months? And so we talked about it, and, Shelli EY, she's like, well, I think 120. And I was like, okay, maybe, but let's go 180. Just to be safe. Let's just try it. What's the worst thing that can happen? And so we had the call today, and you talked about, well, what services do you offer in your practice? And so we have a lot, but in each one of these services, between brain tap, biocharger, the infrared sauna, halotherapy, and I can keep going on, but they're each in their own individual profit center. And without marketing those correctly or putting together an individualized, intentional package, it makes it a whole lot harder to reach that 6-month goal on an individual basis versus target marketing a specific package. So, for us, we work with a lot of veterans in our area, and with our veterans comes PTSD. But PTSD is so much more than just veterans. So there's a lot of subgroups that go with that. And so basically, to reach that $180,000 number, we only needed 81 patients. That's why I was like, really? Is that math right? I had to go back. I did it in Excel, make sure my calendar wasn't wrong. And then I was like, Barb, no, this needs to be 225,000. This is far too easy. This is way too attainable.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so what would you say was the secret? Like, what was the tipping point for you to be like, wait a minute, this is not only doable, I don't think it's big enough.
Right. It was the ease and the simplicity of putting that targeted package together for a need, a service for a demographic with such a need, between what, with PTSD, what brain tap can do, what laser can do, what chiropractic can do, like all of the things. When you start putting that package together, and even in sales, they talk about find that person's pain. And if you provide a solution for that pain, it does not matter. Like you will have that person for life. And so just, it was the ease of putting all of that together in one package for me. That was my,
Yeah, the intentionality and the focus. And that's what I was saying. Like, for those of you who aren't in the boot camp, when I learned something for my business, I immediately give it to my boot campers, and sometimes I have to figure out a few, a few pieces of it, but like it never gets stale. The boot camp, that's for sure. And I know it's just given me so much like focus. Like, yes, I'm going to do lots of things, but I'm going to make sure I touch this thing in some way every day. And it's just like really simplified it. And I love how we'll do it this 6 months and then we'll be able to repeat it again and again and again. And so, one of the secrets is breaking things down to the ridiculous. And when we could see that, oh, wait a minute, 81 individuals, and then they're going to get this much value and contribute only this much money, like, I'm in.
Yeah.
Right. And such a vulnerable population, PTSD, whether military or like we were talking about before, like survivors of domestic violence and any form. I don't remember where I learned it, that the severity of what we've endured doesn't is irrelevant in terms of, like, there are no degrees of it, right? If
Right.
you've been hurt, period. And mine isn't less than yours because you endured more. We've
Right.
just endured, right? And I think that's so important to remember. And then also in your package, remember the power that each of you bring to this equation.
Mhm.
Right? They're all of those things, but your love and your smiles and your attention and your follow-up and 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 your caring and your listening. The greatest human need, we've been taught, is love, but that's not true. The greatest human need for any human being is to be seen. Every person wants to know that they matter. And that's really the lens between that's the lens of asking, hey, if I could show you a way to make a lasting impact in somebody else's life, would you be interested in?
Absolutely.
That says I matter.
Mhm.
Just with how we context that request, it speaks to I matter, I'm important, I'm seen. So as we wrap this up, what I'd like both of you to speak to those who maybe they've been in other coaching groups and they didn't feel like they mattered. They just felt like they were a number. Speak to them about what's different in our tribe.
So can I take this one first?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm going to tie it back to the call that we had just a little while ago. It was part 2 of the marketing, and you had a quote in there. People don't decide their futures; their habits decide their futures. So how does that tie into other coaching groups? It the one thing I absolutely love about the boot camp is you never sold me on the boot camp. And I don't mean that in a negative way, because all props to you, but it was your members, because I had Cairo sisters that were in it, and I saw the things that they were doing, and I knew I needed a piece of that. So while Barb, you are an amazing saleswoman, businesswoman, all the above, like, all props go to you, but it was really the results of your members that ultimately sold me, because I needed what they had. I didn't need somebody to sell me. I wanted what they had, and I knew what they were doing within your boot camp. And I knew that's where I was home, because I was one of those that I joined one, and it was not productive at all. There was a lot of lies, a lot of letdowns, and that was part of what led to that spiral. And I am no longer spiraling. So thank you.
Yay! And Shelly, this is why I say all of the time, testimonials are our greatest source of believability. So just like you said about building, so you're talking about the community and the success of the community. Our practices are exactly the same. So I hope all of you hear this, that sharing your practice members' testimonials isn't about you. It's about them, and it's about who somebody else sees themselves as being able to become
Yeah.
as a result of following in somebody else's footsteps. So it's almost like, if she can do it, I can do it. If
Yeah.
she can do it,
Mhm.
what does that say about me?
Yeah.
So please, like, that's why in the boot camp there are 13 effective uses of testimonials. There isn't one, there are 13 effective uses because they matter. So Shelli, EY, what about for
Yes.
you?
Well, I came late to the boot camp, and I, the first time that I felt you guys as a group, I was downstairs working, and Shelli was upstairs on a call, and I could literally feel like everything kind of rise up in me. And I came upstairs, and you were telling your testimony and just the level of support. And I immediately got on the next phone call, and it was so heartfelt to be in the group, to be included in the group, but to also feel the frequency and vibration of the group.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, it's a group of very driven women, but there's a difference between drive and inspiration. And that's what the boot camp has done for me. It's relit that inspiration inside of me, not only to, build a different kind of practice, a better kind of practice with you, but to also to learn from all these magnificent women, and to share my wisdom and knowledge as well. Love
Yeah.
it.
Harvesting collective genius.
Yeah, love
We
it.
weren't designed to have all the answers, but together we do.
We get
And
pretty close.
yeah, yeah. And if we don't know, I promise we're gonna find out.
Right.
So, like, that's the
Oh,
power
yeah.
of, I have an unbelievable Rolodex that if I don't know, I know somebody who does know, and I'll get an answer. So any last minute words that you'd like to share with anyone?
I'm so excited about the Ultimate Marketing Bootcamp. Like, I cannot wait. I learned so much about myself when we did the first one, my archetype, and like that was just mind boggling. And then, the 6-month figure, like I'm all set. We got off the call and I went out. I'm like, woo! Like this. And there was a patient coming around the corner. I'm like, I'm good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love knowing that. Very cool. And
Yeah.
Shell UI,
Yes.
what about for you? What final words do you want to offer?
I'm just today I am rolling off of her energy because she was gone for 3 days doing back office stuff, and so it's great to have you back in the office.
Thank you.
And I'm excited to do the boot camp too. I'm learning so much about myself. The archetype, the branding archetype was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it, and I love learning more about myself. To the whole package is coming together, if you will.
Yeah.
I love it.
Who thought studying marketing would teach us something about ourselves, right? But it does. Ladies, thanks so much for joining me today. For those of you who have joined us and popped in and out, thank you. And we'd love to see you in Pigeon Forge. We're all staying at a lodge together. When you look at the price, yeah, it's higher than most, because guess what's included? You're lodging from Wednesday night to Sunday morning. All of your food, all of your snacks, all of your adult beverages, all of the materials, everything is included. We even go so far in my tribe as we create a travel Google sheet, so that however you get there, that if you drive, maybe there's somebody who's coming from the same direction and you can come together. Or if you're coming by plane, we even have like boot campers who meet up at the airport and then travel back and forth together, and just start that cohesiveness right from the very beginning. So ladies, so good to talk to you today. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you in a few weeks.
Thank you. Look
Have a
forward to
great
it.
weekend. Bye.
Bye.